Hello and welcome back to another video review, this time for Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more reviews like this, and please leave a comment below letting me know if you enjoyed the film. The Primes, the first Autobots, acquired their energy from sun harvesters, robots that destroy stars to gather their energy approximately 17,000 BC. The Primes swore they would never kill a star that nourishes life. One Prime sought to break this rule by constructing a sun harvester on Earth, for which he was imprisoned by the other 6 Primes and became the Fallen, the first Decepticon. 2 years after the Battle of Mission City, the Autobots and humans founded the Non-Biological Extraterrestrial Species Treaty, NEST, a clandestine, multinational task force tasked with eliminating the last Decepticons that are seeking the Autobots. In Shanghai, they battled 2 Decepticons, Sideways and Demolisher, although the latter warns them that the Fallen are on their way before being murdered. Meanwhile, Soundwave, a Decepticon, hacks into a military satellite. The Decepticons take the last known fragment of the Allspark shard from a Navy base and use it to revive Megatron, while ripping parts from one of their own members to restore his body. Megatron and his second-in-command Starscream are dispatched by the Fallen to capture Sam Witwicky alive and murder Optimus. Since clutching a tiny Allspark shard, Sam has started seeing Cybertronian symbols. Megatron hopes the symbols will lead the Decepticons to a new energon source. Many of the kitchen appliances come to life as a result of the shard, and they attempt to kill Sam and his parents before being rescued by Bumblebee. Sam hands over the shard to his lover, Michaela Baines, who subsequently catches the Decepticon Wheelie while attempting to steal it. Sam, his roommate Leo, and Michaela are taken by the Decepticon Grindor after being attacked by Alice, a Decepticon adapter acting as a college student, whom they manage to kill. Megatron then kills Optimus, but not before Grindor, and the Decepticons begin catastrophic, simultaneous strikes over the planet, while Megatron and Soundwave steal Earth's telecommunications networks, allowing the Fallen to deliver a message to the humans demanding Sam's surrender. Sam, Michaela, and Leo then meet Robo-Warrior Seymour Simmons, an extraterrestrial specialist and former Sector 7 agent, who reveals that the Transformers visited Earth ages ago, and that the most ancient known as Seekers stayed concealed on Earth. They search down an ancient Decepticon-turned-Autobot Seeker named Jetfire in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum with the aid of Wheelie. They utilize their shard to bring Jetfire back to life, who teleports the group to Egypt. Wheelie joins Jetfire in siding with the Autobots, and Jetfire dispatches them to find the Matrix of Leadership, the Sun Harvester's key, which might also be used to resurrect Optimus Prime. The group discovers the Matrix in Pietra, which the Primes who punish the Fallen sacrifice themselves to hide, but it disintegrates into dust. Meanwhile, Nest and Autobot troops arrive near the Giza Pyramid complex and are assaulted by Decepticons. Devastator is formed when the construction unit to produce Devastator, who smashes one of the pyramids to reveal the Sun Harvester within before being slain by the Navy. The Navy and Air Force eliminate the majority of the Decepticons with repeated airstrikes, but Megatron kills Sam. Near death, the Primes speak to Sam, telling him that the Matrix must be won rather than discovered, and that he has earned the right to wear it by battling for Optimus. They resurrect Sam and give him the Matrix, which he uses to resurrect Optimus Prime. The Fallen grabs the Matrix from a helpless Optimus and uses it to power the Sun Harvester. Optimus Prime destroys the Harvester and kills the Fallen after Jetfire, who was injured by Scorponok, but was unable to kill his assailant, sacrifices himself to let his parts be used for Optimus. Megatron and Starscream flee. The Autobots and their friends subsequently return to America, and Leo and Sam resume their studies. Our main character is Sam, played by Shia LaBeouf. Honestly, the best description of his character in this movie is him acting like himself in real life. In the last movie, he was very jumpy and skittish, and then in this one, that's turned up to 11. He's basically the same character as the first movie, where he's the plot device yet again. I will say one thing about his character, and that he's kind of a jerk in this movie. I say this because at the beginning of the movie, there's this Decepticon disguised as a woman, and this woman seems oddly attracted to him, and he in no way tries to stop her from making advances towards him even though he's in a relationship. He also thinks that Michaela is in the wrong for judging him on this. I don't know, there's just not much character growth with him in this movie. The second character I will talk about is Michaela, played by Megan Fox. She's basically the same as she was in the first movie, except in this movie she didn't really do as much as she did in the first movie. And here she just seems like the sex appeal. In the first one, yes, you can tell that she was just there because she seemed attractive. But in this one, it's blatantly obvious that the people behind this movie only saw her as a sex symbol. I might be biased because I know what happened behind the scenes, but at the same time, it's a little weird and creepy. I just wish she had more of an impact like she did in the first movie. I feel like I only need to talk about these two characters because they seem to be the only ones that actually have somewhat of a storyline, whereas everything else just feels exactly the same as it did in the first movie. And nothing was really changed about any character, and that's very disappointing that there was no growth or anything. A lot of the stuff that I liked about this movie are a lot of the things that I liked about the first movie. Except in this one, they seem to have more of a budget for those kinds of stuff. Which brings me to my first point. I really like the action in this movie. There seems to be a lot of more action in this movie than the first one, and I'm just assuming that because they had more money to spend. I also like the twist of them killing Optimus Prime. Now, to be fair, they brought him back to life in the end, meaning that it took all of the tension out of the movie, but it was still really bold of them to do that. One of the things that I did not like about the first movie was the fact that we didn't really get to see much of the Decepticons, but in this one it's different. We actually get to see their side of what's going on and get a better understanding of what they are doing and why. I just love it in movies when we get to see both sides of an argument or war or whatever you want to call it, because it just gives us more lore. We still don't really feel for the Decepticons in this movie, and they're just there to be the bad guys, it seems like. Even though we got more of their story, they just seem like the bad guys still. There are a lot more things that seem to be wrong with this movie than the first movie, especially the continuity. I'm just going to list off a few things that I noticed that weren't consistent with the first movie. These are small little things, but in the end, I just found them very noticeable and don't understand why they changed these things. And one of them was the fact that at the end of the last movie, Bumblebee's voice was fixed, whereas in this movie, suddenly his voice is broken again. We get no explanation as to why this is. The other one that I think is the most obvious is Starscream's voice. They for some reason changed the sound of his voice, and I looked this up to make sure that the original voice actor for the first movie didn't die or anything, and to my shock, it's the same voice actor. So I was confused before, but after learning this information, I'm even more confused. Why they think changing the voice was a good thing. I'm going to be honest here and say that I do like his voice better in this movie, but I just don't understand what the reasoning behind changing the sound of his voice was. Anyways, my next issue is another little nitpicky thing but it's the fact that the humans don't seem to realize that the Transformers exist. I find this very hard to believe, because you're trying to make me believe that nobody knew about the attack on Los Angeles, nobody had any images of what happened, and all of those people in the streets in the background did not say anything about aliens literally attacking one of the largest cities in the United States. This just does not make sense to me, because knowing how the world works, and even in 2009, there were people with cell phones everywhere. Somebody had to have a camera or a camcorder. There's always something, and for some reason, none of the humans on Earth know of this. I know it's a small thing, but it just bothered me. So now we go back to the fact that the humans seem to be a pretty big part in this movie. At this point, it just feels like the humans are just in this movie to be the comic relief, because there only really seems to be comedy when they're on screen. I will admit that the comedy was really well done in this movie, because it's my kind of humor. But at the same time, it's like so many scenes are with humans in this movie, and that this movie could be cut down so much if they just got rid of the B-roll of the cars, as well as some of the scenes with the humans in it. This segues into my next issue perfectly, and again, it's the problem with the movie being too long. Like I said in my last point, this movie could have so many scenes that can be cut out of this movie, and we would still have a good movie. I'm not saying that this movie was good by any means, but what I am saying is that I think it would have helped the movie if some of the scenes weren't so drawn out and pointless. It's like Michael Bay wanted to flaunt his stuff by showing us all of his stuff in the military, as well as showing all the vehicles they were able to get, and it just feels to me like a giant ad with a reason to join the US military. I just wish there was more substance to this movie, because then it wouldn't feel as long and drawn out as this movie was. So in the end, what would I rate Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen? Like I said in my last review, I'm surprised how much I didn't enjoy this movie. Again, it's a guilty pleasure because I love the action, but the story can just be thrown away, and you can leave the action in this movie, and that would make this movie even better. With the inconsistencies from the first movie, as well as it being such a long viewing experience, and it feeling like an ad for both vehicles, as well as the US military, I'm just gonna have to give this movie a 6 out of 10. The only reason I didn't give it a 5 out of 10 is because that the action was really well done in this movie, as well as the CGI being top notch. But everything else is just not good. Anyways guys, let me know in the comments section below whether you like Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen or not. And please leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more reviews like this. Thank you all so much for watching, and see you in the next review.